Okay, I figured I'd report a little bit on the Stickum experience. It was a very good one. It was very good, and I was in there a crazy amount of time. Um, One thing was that I think there was, oh geez, three people in there, including me or something, and I had to leave. I'm like, oh, I got something I got to take care of. This thing going on here, and I came back 2 hours later, expecting to find an empty room, having been abandoned. Because that's the thing with these stick-in rooms. It's so hard about actually running one. You really have to appreciate someone that runs one because it takes a lot of work and a lot of time and sort of dedication. But there were like 15 or 20 people or something in there when I got back, and it's like that actually gave me a warm fuzzy. It's like, oh, that's so nice. So, and they had to do it without even a mod, and they hung out. I mean, if I ever do that again, I'll mod. I'll mod whoever's in there when I leave. Uh, and so anyway, yeah, uh, it's an interesting thing, Stickum. One of the main things I find interesting, being a person that seeks balance, is just compared to my basic free speech uh, position. In Stickum, it's modified. People come in with their mic open, playing music really loud. Boom! There is no time to discuss their chance to have free speech. It's like mute your mic, mute your mic, mute your mic. You're kicked. You know what I mean? It's like 30 seconds. It doesn't take. You can't come in and just ruin the audio space. It works. It works a lot better in text because where people can be expected to maybe ignore your comment if they don't like it. But you can't ignore some giant feedback loop and shit like this. So, well, actually you can, but why should you have to? So that's an interesting thing, and also just the basic policy, which is like the room host. He gets to speak more. He goes every other time, roughly, and I don't. If two people get in an argument, I don't insert myself right away. But basically, you preserve that right. Basically, it's that the host can go every other time, and if somebody says something that is specifically to another person, or it's obviously on the subject that they've just been uh, going into, then you let that person reply. That is the every other time person. So when somebody comes up with some position and everybody's having to go at them, okay, that person gets to go every other time. And that seems to work pretty well. Um, Gary was there, very productively so. I don't really want to get into a list because I'll forget people and stuff. But yeah, Silver Soul was there. Saul Pilani was there. High showed up. I don't remember him talking, but um, uh, uh, but anyway, see, I'm already forgetting people that were there. William Cardinal was there. So anyway, it was a lot of interesting conversation, and I was there, even including the 2 hours I skipped out. Um, I was there, yeah, 8, 9 hours, maybe even 10 actually. Um, so that's the hard part. That's why on my announcement, MJ Rocks, is that the name? I should go look at it. Yeah, let's see. We'll get it right because this is a poster I know well enough to get the freaking name right. Okay. Um, yeah, MJ Rocks. Uh, I wish there was a 24-hour heads up. Me too, but I don't really know ahead of time when I'm gonna have that kind of time to invest. Um, but if they always went like this, I could probably find it every once in a while. I'm busy enough; it's hard to justify to my family and stuff that I can do that amount of time. But it was really productive. I enjoyed it, so it was worth it. I would like to do it regularly, and I think I will. I don't know if I can get it on a schedule where I'm going to show up regularly and make it happen as a reliable thing. But I definitely will do it a little more regularly. I think, strictly speaking, the most pedestrian subject that came. I was really happy we avoided all the Stickum small talk. It's not to say we weren't cordial, talking about various things, and who knows what's going on in chat. You start talking when you're hosting the room, it's hard to read the chat. But as far as the mainstream conversation, I think the most, the most lowbrow of our conversation was, we went into John Paul's some of his drama history. We bitched about the Amazing Atheist and Thunderfoot and Professor Anton. And I was trying to be provocative, and there wasn't much defense of them. But I am fascinated by how the conversation works. So to me, that actually wasn't lowbrow or pedestrian. I really like that subject and think it's valuable. But possibly, there was some, we were discussing some drama or just bitching and moaning about other vloggers. So that might be at the bottom of the list. Other than that, it was all issues. I mean, the other lowest thing was we talked about OJ. I have a theory that OJ was guilty and framed. That glove behind the house. People forget is the limo driver that was there to pick up OJ saw OJ go in through one of the back doors. And the description of the guy going through the back door and the timing of it was OJ. I mean, he went onto OJ's property through the back door with the key. I mean, he didn't climb his own damn wall. It's nuts. But, that was the most pop. We talked about John Kerry. They were talking about the Civil War while I was gone. I talked a little bit about that, and I had to leave again for another hour or so. So I really wasn't part of that conversation. We talked about Ted Kennedy and Teddy Roosevelt and FDR. Thing is about Ted Kennedy is that I just can't stand the guy, and I had to admit that, you know what, I put him on my shit list a long time ago. I haven't given him a lot of chances after that, but I'm sticking with it. On the Teddy Roosevelt side, it's more like, well, the guy was a warmonger in a lot of ways, kind of a war criminal, sort of literally in the opinion of some people. So, yeah, I've often had to defend that. But you know what? I just, the conservationism, the independence, the betrayal of the Republican Party, all this stuff, I'm sorry. I just like me a couple Roosevelts. What can I say? FDR, awesome. And Teddy as well. But, I take a hit for that. I'll tell you right ahead. I'll acknowledge the hit. But nobody's perfect, and I don't mean... Teddy Roosevelt wasn't perfect. I fully acknowledge that. I mean, I'm not perfect. What can I say? We talked about bear attacks, and John Paul was there and was important to that because they were dealing with the bear attack situation where he lives, which I did not know. I did not know that where he lived had a bear issue. I'm from California. We got tons of bears. We talked about hunting. We talked about IRV voting. Oh, that's right. Left of Center was there. Very happy to have you there. Always left of center. I gave you a hard time. Sometimes I was being just the devil's advocate. On the other hand, I don't know. You're on the proper side of the political divide, but it's nice that we can still go into our differences. I think when someone like left of center and myself, I don't know if you know left of center, but he's a Obama fan. He's kind of a traditional. Democrat, liberal, but of a good ilk and honest. I think when we show this dynamic tension between us, we shift. It's the Overton window kind of thing. You look it up if you don't know what that is. So we talked about RIV, which he doesn't support. Of course, Gary and I both do. I think Gary was in there like 4 or 5 hours. And I thanked Gary for not making a point. I mean, I brought it up. It's like he was there for a couple hours, and I'm like, thanks, Gary, for not like insisting that I kick John Paul. He blocked me for still talking to John Paul, but he was okay with that to a certain degree. And I shouldn't say he was okay with it, but he was cool about it. And so yeah, we talked about RV, left to center being against it. See, left to center, that's the only thing I've ever heard you say where I'm like, this isn't a difference of opinion. You don't actually understand how it works. This is the thing about IRV and condorcet voting. It's just like, people have done mathematical studies about democracy, and figured out some of the mathematical problems. You're just not going